This video is brought to you by Law Excellence IAS.
Dear students, good morning. Welcome to DEEP, Daily Editorial Enrichment Program of Law Excellence R&D. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 23rd July 2019. The first article for discussion, a misleading presentation of a labor program. This is about MG Narega. So MG Narega, stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. It is based on a rights-based approach. According to this, any of the non-fulfillment of the right can have a legal recourse. It means that the citizen's voice can be raised in a court of law if their right to work is not fulfilled. Now, this MG Narega suffers from various drawbacks. What are they? Inadequate allocation of money. So, the budget allocations are coming down every year. And the second, the amount paid under MG Narega is less than minimum wages of Government of India. And the third thing is, the money which is promised is not delivered on time to these workers. Because of that, the interest is going down in this particular program. So, there is Aadhaar linked payment systems which was linked to the payments of MG Narega. So, Economic Survey this year claims that Aadhaar linked payments have improved the quality of functioning of MG Narega as an act. So, in this case, the glorification of Aadhaar is what is questioned in this article. So, first is technocracy, can it be equate with meritocracy? Yes, technology can improve the merit, but over glorifying the technology is unwanted. Technology is wanted, but technology overriding the human or overriding the processes or overriding the decisions of the government or politics and administration is unwarranted. So, technology is an instrument. Technology cannot be an end in itself. So, Aadhaar linked payments has improved the payment delivery system to an extent it may be true, but Aadhaar linked payment system alone did not bring in this. So let us understand this critical analysis. The first is, before Aadhaar linked payment system has come up, we have EFMS. This EFMS, it stands for Fund Management System. So this fund management system also has ensured certain direct transfers. So ALP is not the first in the initiative. The second is, the economic survey claims that timely payments have increased and it has led to further worker participation because of Aadhaar linked payments. Let us critically analyze this. Only 30% of the money is actually credited on time. The reasons for increased participation is not delivery of money on time, it is more the drought kind of situations in rural areas. And the second part is, the worker demand and supply has also increased because of ALP. Remember, the Supreme Court has given clear directions and orders to increase or to provide for work on time. If not, they shall pay unemployment allowances. It is more due to the instructions of the Supreme Court without taking these judicial interventions and concluding the result as an outcome of ALP is unwarranted. And then under MG Narega, there is an improved positive targeting. It means targeting of women, Dalits, tribals, etc. This is also because of initiative of the respective state governments. It is no way connected with ALP. And then the economic survey also claims that ghost beneficiaries are being eliminated. Remember that more than the ghost beneficiaries, many of the actual eligible people were also eliminated. There are many exclusion errors and inclusion errors still exist. So that's why let's not glorify the Aadhaar linked payments. That is what this article talks about. The next article for discussion, what does it mean to oppose Brahmanism? Remember, anti-Brahmanism and anti-Brahmin, these are two different things. Don't equate both. Anti-Brahmanism involves that opposing a particular ideology, way of thinking. On the other hand, anti-Brahmin, it is about opposing a particular community. So anti-Brahmanism, it has its roots in development of caste system in India. Let us try to understand this. Initially, when caste system started, it is not rigid. Let me put it this way. So, the person who has spiritual knowledge, who performs the religious rituals of the people, he was given a higher status in the society. So, it means any person who possesses that knowledge can enjoy that higher status. So, all the people had a right to get into that strata, and it means that it is not a rigid system. But once the origin of Manusmriti, slowly this started becoming, or this system started becoming rigidified, and any person who is born to this man is also considered as a Brahmin. So this has led to the rise of something called as caste system. This caste system is based on, that is, gradient hierarchy, or we call it as graded hierarchy. It means so Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and then Shudra. So this is what? A graded inequality. So if you observe across the world, wherever there is oppression, we had the revolution. But in India, we did not have, in spite of highest oppression possible under caste system. It can be explained through graded inequality. And the second thing is, so in hierarchical system that is rigid, which is based on the birth, which has its roots in Manusmriti was born. This is a conservative ideology where there is no social mobility for the people who are born in one caste into the other. So this is what is being opposed. So the constitution, when it talks about liberty, principles of equality, it is very much against to this Brahminism. So the Brahminism and the Indian constitution are contrary to each other. So the Indian constitution talks about equality for all the sections, abolition of untouchability, providing for the liberty to possess one's own job, etc. This is what this article talks about. The next is the judicial presumption of non citizenship. Here, the author talks about a judgment of the Supreme Court in case of Abdul Qudus versus Union of India. So, what is justice? The justice is not just substantive, it also need to be procedural. Every one of us has to be satisfied that the procedure is went right, and the justice is been applied through reason, or given judgment was given based on a reason and thorough examination of the facts, etc. So in this case, in the case of Assam, if you see today, the foreigner tribunals are being appointed. These tribunals are appointed through executive order. They need not follow the established judicial procedures. They can regulate their own procedures, or they can create their own procedures. And these tribunals are based on assumption of non-citizenship. It means the burden of citizenship, the burden of proof that one is a citizen of this country lies on that individual rather than the officer who is questioning his citizenship. So, in these circumstances, if he is unable to produce any proper documents, and if there is no fairness in the conduct of the court, there is a greater chance of miscarriage of justice. So, that's the reason why what the author argues is the tribunals and their improper functioning can bring in statelessness for thousands and millions of the people in this country. So it is not in the foundations of justice system, not as per the consideration of values of justice. That's what this author talks about. Subverting the RTI regime. You know that an amendment was proposed to RTI and it's passed. So according to this amendment, the status of these information commissioners both at the center and the state will be changed. As of now, they enjoy the status equivalent to election commissioner, CEC, and chief secretary at center and states. Why is this being done? So the CEC in India enjoys the status of removal equivalent to judge of a Supreme Court. So when CIC, Chief Information Commissioner at the center, also enjoys the position of CEC equivalent to the judge of Supreme Court. So in this context, the judgments of the CEC can be appealed in the Supreme Court. How can we consider both of them as equal? That is the question. But remember, institutional autonomy need not make all the people equal. Let's take CAG is also equivalent to judge of Supreme Court. The decisions of the CAG can be challenged. The decisions of the CEC can be challenged. So it means Anything can be challenged in the Supreme Court. It does not mean the autonomy offered to the judges of the Supreme Court shall not be offered to others. The second thing, the security of tenure is the minimal security or minimal thing that has to be given to make someone to enjoy the autonomy of the office. So, shaping all these into the hands of the center is violative of both federalism because the center is also amending the positions of state information commissioners in this law, and it is also against the transparency. That's how this article talks about. Soaring to the moon. So, Chandrayaan 2 was successful. So, GSLV Mark 3, which can carry the satellites up to 4,000 kg, proved its ability. The second thing is there is orbiter, lander, and rover. So previously, when Moon Impact Probe was launched through Chandrayaan 1, it has crash landed on the moon. But today these are not going to crash landed. Their speed, which is around 6,000 kilometers per hour, will be reduced, safely landed. A rover comes out of it, and rover will explore the southern pole of the moon. Till now, whatever the explorations happened, these are on the equatorial region of the moon. And the next is there is a terrain mapping camera which can take the 3D image of the moon. You know that through Chandrayaan 1, India was able to find water on the moon. So, with the existing thing, India can confirm that much better. And India is the first country which is exploring on the southern pole of the moon. So, again, vertical temperature gradient, thermal conductivity of moon, lunar seismicity, that is earthquake proneness in the moon, all these are being seen over here. So, it is a scientific achievement for India. What's next? National Medical Commission Bill, it is been presented in the Parliament now. Previously, when it was presented, there was objection from Medical Council of India and also objection from various medical or doctors associations. So what are the provisions that are being improved now? So as like the NEET, there will be next, which is called National Exit Exam. So today, any doctor who has to be given a certificate, no exit exam is necessary. In the United States of America, for foreign graduates, American graduates, everyone has to pass through one single exam that is called medical licensing exam, USMLE. Our next will be exactly similar to that. So either a student who studied in the foreign university, if wants to practice in India, he has to pass next. Similarly, a final year medical graduate who wants to practice, he has to pass next. A person who wants to join PG course, it will also be based on the scores in next. So second thing is previously AIMS, JIPMER, like these educational institutions which are elitist, these are being excluded from this bill. Today they are also joined into it. The major objection of the medical fraternity is lateral entry to Ayush doctors to practice allopathy. According to this bill, it is been removed. So I think the troubles for this bill are over and it is expected to be passed. And the next is success in water sector development depends on a Jan Andolan. So here, this is a beautiful interview which you can read. Today, there is synergy and convergence with regard to water management in India. All the water related factors, these are being brought into one ministry, Jal Shakti ministry. In this case, what the author says is, the minister says is, there has to be 5 pillars on which we have to focus upon. One is rainwater harvesting, judicious use, domestic industrial use, and second, use of technology, for example, groundwater research, sewage treatment, desalination, all these things, reuse and recycle the water, afforestation. So these are the things. In the process, he talks about many things. Water use efficiency is one thing. In China, to grow a kg of rice, it takes 350 liters of water. In India, we take around 5,600 liters of water, which is huge. And the second, why the people are growing water rich crops or water guzzling crops such as rice and sugarcane? Because there is a minimum support price to it. In this context, there are 2 examples. So in Haryana, MSP was offered to maize, and many of the farmers shifted from rice to maize immediately. And second, In the case of Maharashtra, in respect to sugarcane, the drip irrigation is made mandatory. If any, crop has to be bought under MSP, then the plant or that particular field shall have drip irrigation. These are two improvements. Above all, if water conservation has to happen, there has to be a public movement towards it. Across the world, water conservation happened through public movements. When we were children, there was conservation of the water and community was conscious about the water bodies. Today, as piped water is there in every house, the conservation of the water bodies are looking or keeping a watchful eye on the water bodies in the villages, everything has become redundant. So, in this case, water Andolan is the way forward, or water movement is the way forward. Uproar over lack of scrutiny of crucial bills. So, previously, whenever the opposition party requests for, the government used to submit a bill for the scrutiny of standing committee. If the standing committees do not exist, it will be sent for the scrutiny of a select committee. Now, standing committees were not yet constituted, and the second, the select committees are not being constituted even though the opposition is requesting for. NIA bill, UAPA bill, all these were requested by the opposition for the consideration of the select committee, which was ignored by the government. And the next, smoking e-cigarettes is more injurious to health. Now, cigarette companies, their major product, which is the burnable cigarette, is getting replaced today with e-cigarettes. They want to sell these e-cigarettes by stating that cigarette smoking, especially e-cigarettes, are not risky and they can also be spoken wherever you want, as they do not release the smoke outside and do not cause second-hand smoke. In this context, what the author argues is the e-cigarette is also equally danger as it burns the nicotine with heat as like the cigarette which is being smoken. So in this context, the government of India banned the e-cigarettes under Drugs and Cosmetics Act, Drugs and Narcotics Act. Next article is Qureshi file under study. So the word which I liked over here is deliberate inaction. Whenever a judge name is proposed which is not to the liking of the government of India by collegium, the government is silent on the judge. This is described as the deliberate inaction. Here Mr. Akil Qureshi, he was supposed to be elevated as Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh on the recommendation of collegium. But government has cleared every other judge other than him. So the government deliberate inaction on the recommendations of collegium is actually worsening the judicial independence or is a question on judicial independence. The next is would love to be a mediator on Kashmir. Donald Trump. I am worried. He stated that Prime Minister has requested him to mediate between India and Pakistan. You know that the Shimla agreement after that liberation of Bangladesh has clearly stated that any issues pending between India and Pakistan will be solved bilaterally. No Prime Minister in India in his senses will ask a president like Donald Trump to mediate. Probably it is the biggest lie among the series of lies of Mr. Trump. And the next is government must reduce borrowing by divesting stake in PSEs. So government, if borrows more, then it is dangerous. The reason is if more money is available to the private sector, then it leads to investment and entrepreneurship, which will lead to more production in the country, and which in turn lead to economic growth. So if government borrows more money, then obviously it leads to crowding out of capital to the private sector. The private sector will not have sufficient money, which will affect the growth. So government has to search for the alternative routes to pull up its money. The most important route for it is disinvestment in the public sector enterprises. That is what is the Deputy Governor Viral Acharya talks about. Finally, thank you. Have a great day. Yesterday, few of the students complained that my voice is a bit low. I will try to talk a bit loud or I will get a new mic. Probably there might be a problem with my mic. I will improve on it. Thank you very much for your suggestions. All the best. Bye.